12681. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in, Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your day is going great. Thanks for hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Lots to get to here over the next couple of hours. LSU and Grambling tonight, 6:30 first pitch from the box. I'll be on the call with Chris Blair this evening. LSU's getting one more little tune-up here before big one coming up this weekend with Tennessee starting on Thursday. Glenn West in his normal spot at 1:30. He, of course, of Go247 Sports. We'll talk some football and some baseball with Glenn. There's a new name in the transfer portal for basketball that's of interest to LSU. We'll talk SEC hoops as now everybody in the Southeastern Conference this season has come to a close. I'm going to give my closing thoughts on what we saw this year from the league. Saints have added a former great to their coaching staff. Are the Pels finding a little bit of a groove? We'll talk all that with Sharif Ishak in the second hour at 2:30. We are going to start with LSU baseball and a couple of quotes that I heard from Jay Johnson yesterday that I want to play for you, but I'm going to set the scene for them first. The first quote was talking about Garrett Edwards. If you're listening to my show yesterday, I said, based on what I saw this weekend from Edwards and some of the other pitchers in the bullpen, I believe the first time a high-leverage situation presents itself against Tennessee, you're going to see Garrett Edwards first. I think he is the guy that this staff places the most trust in. And that's quite a feat for him, quite frankly, because this is a guy whose career's been a little bit winding. He shows up at LSU from Pitkin, Louisiana, as a former all-state basketball player and a really good athlete, and he's going to be a right-handed pitcher. In his freshman year, which was Paul Mainieri's last year in 2021, he got into 24 games. He started a couple. He had 4 saves, and his numbers were pretty good. In 37 innings, he struck out 34, only walked 13. His ERA was 3.41. He had a solid freshman year, and you could see the fastball that was 92, 93, and he threw a pretty good breaking ball, and he had a nice go of it. Last year, he was hurt and struggled to get back in the lineup, and he came back, and he wasn't quite ready and didn't really have any success. In 8 innings, gave up 10 hits and 6 earned runs, only had the 9 strikeouts, and he wasn't really a factor for LSU the majority of the year. He did pitch a little bit, but apparently, as Jay will tell you here, he came back a little bit too quick. And I'll stop there and go to the sound before we talk about what he's blossomed into this year. And you would suggest that a guy who had a good freshman year and was banged up his sophomore year, him coming back as a junior and having a big leap forward is not unheard of. But when you consider a baseball roster and how it's put together and how that calendar works, Garrett Edwards was up against it.
I'm skeptical, you know what I mean? All I heard was how good he was, you know what I mean? But I hadn't seen it. And injury last year to his leg, and to Garrett's credit, like, he tried to get back, and I mean, came back too fast. Like, he didn't have his legs underneath him, delivery wasn't right, did not have success. And then in the fall, a little more adversity, and it was like, hey man, you gotta make the team. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, like, you got to make the team. Like, this isn't going to be given to you. And there was no blink of an eye. There was no, like, looking at me with, like, 3 heads. Like, you got 3 heads. It was like, okay, I got it. And came back. And in January, it's like, you're going to be evaluated on these 5 outings that you get. And so to think about that, and now it's like, man, when can we get this guy in the game? He deserves all the credit for that. And I'm really proud of him, and you're going to keep seeing him in important spots.
That's just a cool story where, I mean, you look at a sport that has the scholarship and roster limitations that baseball does. And so you go out to practice and you're fighting for a spot on the team. Feels like a story out of Rudy, not something you'd expect from a guy who's now your closer. And Garrett Edwards didn't flinch. He said, all right, I'll make the team. And then Jay says, all right, you're going to have 5 outings from when we come back to school to when we start the season, and that's kind of what you'll be evaluated on. He goes out there and does his job. And to this point, through 8 games, 8 appearances for him, 20 2/3 innings, 24 strikeouts, just 4 walks, only give up 2 earned runs. His ERA is .87. And he's thrown big pitches against Arkansas and Texas A&M and had success in both spots. So it's not just Butler. It's not just Central Connecticut State, who, by the way, has won like 9 games in a row. It's not just Western Michigan. He's done a good job against some SEC teams. And so that's a really cool story for me about a guy who had some success early, got a change in staff. This is his 3rd pitching coach in 3 years. Tried to come back from injury too quick last year. Now he's healthy and all of a sudden kind of finds his way. And I was skeptical of that just like Jay was. Like, I want the guy who's a major draft risk. I want the high-profile recruit or huge transfer portal ad, not the guy who couldn't get anybody out last year. That's just the way I usually look at things. And Edwards has been rock solid this year, no question about it. If you listen to this show during the last 3 months, you know how I have felt about Paul Skenes' developments into one of, if not the best pitcher in college baseball. And I was like, and now, seeing what we've seen, my inclination that I had a little bit of doubt in what Paul Skenes was at the front of the rotation before the season started sounds stupid. I mean, I'm very willing to say that. So, you think this guy was going to be good? Look at him. And I saw that, but I also went back to what he was at Air Force. And, he opens the season against Iowa, and he gives up 7 hits and 4 earned runs in 3 1/3. And then some of the games in their conference schedule. 6 innings, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts against Fresno State. He had 2 strikeouts at a 7-inning outing against Nevada. Struck out 5 at San Diego State in 6 innings. Gave up 4 runs on 7 hits, like I said. New Mexico, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts. Like, when I think of the first pick in the draft, potentially, he's facing Nevada. I'm thinking this guy's just going to dominate them. They're not going to hit anything. And I looked, and I just didn't see that. And then I look at the regional outing against Texas. 7 hits and 6 runs in 4 innings. That's what the stats tell me. And I'm now looking at a guy at LSU that's throwing 100 miles an hour, that's throwing 91-mile-an-hour sliders, that is unhittable against the top half of the SEC offenses that are Arkansas and A&M. And so there's a reason why, going back at the middle of January, I'm going, I guess this guy's awesome, but I'm not certain about that. And that was my question. So I went back and watched the Texas highlights from the regional opener last year. And it's hot. It's down there in Austin, amped up, regional. He's going to be letting it fly. And he was 94 to 96 with the fastball. And the breaking ball was okay. Hung it a couple times. Texas did a really good job in the game, I'll tell you this, just watching, of hitting the ball hard, hitting it the other way. Air Force did make 2 errors in the first inning, which did not help Skenes' cause. But he was not near the pitcher that he is right now in that game. And so the question is why? And Jay Johnson was asked about Paul Skenes yesterday, and I'll let you listen to the answer that he gives about Paul Skenes' development, and then I'll tell you kind of what I think it means moving forward.
Part of it is the person, and the competitive nature and the maturity and preparation. And it's more than just talent, with him, with why he is the way that he is. And the other thing is there's another layer of commitment to being at a service academy as an athlete that our guys have no idea about. And they don't live the same life. And that affects your performance. Well, then you talk about getting here with the best resources as far as nutrition, the best resources as far as recovery, the best resources as far as development, best resources as far as analytics, best team around you. I think all those things Paul would tell you have helped him get to another gear. And the best part about him is he's always trying to get to the next one.
When I hear Jay make that comment, when he says the best resources in terms of analytics, the best resources in terms of recovery, the best resources in the terms of nutrition, the best resources in terms of the players around you, when I hear him say that in front of a microphone, I could just teleport him onto the next huge transfer portals recruits couch. That's the message. Paul Skenes was always talented enough to be a top 10 pick in the draft. If he stayed at Air Force, he may not have been. He comes here. He works with our pitching coach. He works in our pitch lab. He gets the data and the analytics that we can provide him as he works out. He gets our facilities. He gets our nutritionist. He gets the players around him that we can provide. He adds 3-4 miles an hour to the fastball. Sliders tighter, sharper. And all of a sudden, he might be the second pick in the draft. That, from going from the 20th pick to the second pick, $6 million. That's the difference. And it's not some sort of pitch that you've got to sell where you just got to believe it. It's right here. He's doing it right now. And I've always said that the transfer portal was going to be so good to LSU baseball because there just aren't many places that can give you the things that LSU can. There are more college basketball programs that can offer elite level stuff. There are more college football programs that can offer elite level stuff. There aren't that many college baseball programs. People and programs don't invest in college baseball the way the SEC does. So every single player that blossoms at this level at a lower tier school can look right at what Paul Skenes has become, from a good pitcher who couldn't get out of the fourth inning in a regional against Texas to the best pitcher in the country. Now, Skenes deserves a ton of credit for this. This is not all LSU. I've been told just that the kid is just relentless. He's always at the facility, always watching tape, always throwing bullpens, always in recovery, always working out. Just he's obsessed. And it takes that too. But he was obsessed, I'm sure, at Air Force. Then he also had to go do his military things, and he had to catch, and he had to hit, and now he just does this. So Skenes is not apples to apples with everyone. Most of them aren't going to come from Air Force. Most of them aren't going to play catcher, and most of them aren't going to hit. In fact, almost none of them will. But this is such a ridiculous recruiting tool for LSU that's unfolding right in front of your very eyes. And when you can have Paul Skenes tell you this story about leaving where he was and going to LSU and becoming what he will, when you can have Alex Bregman at the height of his powers right now and Dylan Cruz just a year from now come back and tell transfer portal players or high school recruits, hey, I know the scouts are telling you this and that, and this is what you need to do, and you need to sign with this team, and here's the amount of money they'll give you. Do it at LSU. We're the proof. It's powerful. And it's as powerful as it's ever been, quite frankly, because college baseball has become so much more powerful than it ever was. I heard Jay Johnson say that about Skenes and his development from a really good pitcher at Air Force who I just ran through the numbers, was nowhere near as impressive against San Diego State, UNLV, and Nevada than he has been against Arkansas and Texas A&M. It's a powerful message. And while we're all locked in on this team and cannot wait to get to the box tonight and Thursday to watch this team play and cannot wait to see what June holds for this specific team, the program's always churning. There's always another team that's coming up behind it. And the next Cruz and the next Skenes, as impossible as that sounds, which is pretty close, but the next guys that are going to carry the next team can look at this, and it's a pretty powerful deal for Jay Johnson and his program. So I thought that was really, really interesting stuff. Chat with Glenn West about any and all of that coming up at 1:30. We'll take a timeout right now. I'll get you ready for LSU and Grambling. A couple of things I want to see tonight out at the box. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Musso, join us for Tuesday's AFR. I'm in for Matt one more day. We'll preview LSU and Grambling from the box, recap Pels, Blazers, and the latest from the NFL owners' meetings. Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU and Grambling tonight, 6:30 first pitch from Alec Box Stadium. You can catch broadcast over on Eagle 98.1, our sister station. It'll be myself and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Pre-game show cranks up at 6 o'clock. Tigers, one last dress rehearsal before Tennessee comes to town. They'll welcome in their visitors from the SWAC and up there in the 318. couple of things that I'd like to see. This game doesn't figure to be all that competitive, although Grambling did do a pretty good job in their one game up at Arkansas. They were in that game late into the game, so always possible when you play a baseball game. But the likely scenario is that LSU puts this one away pretty quickly. They've done a pretty good job of that for the most part this year. I will warn LSU fans who are going to watch this game that Grambling's likely starter, and I have not seen if they've announced one yet, but Ja'Cory Boudreaux is that kind of guy that LSU doesn't love to see. He's 5'11", he's left-handed, he doesn't throw very hard, and he's kind of the guy that LSU struggled a little bit with this year. I don't put a lot of stock into those struggles because it's just not something you're going to see in significant games. Sure, I guess a 4 seed could come in here with a soft toss and lefty that messes with LSU, but I kind of doubt it. That's who you're likely to see. He did start the game against Arkansas. He made it through 4 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 4 hits, struck out 3. Was fairly effective in that game against a really good team. So that's who I would imagine you'll see. I'm not really worried about what Grambling puts out there tonight. I'm more so just concerned with what LSU is able to do in this game. And, of course, most of that's going to hinge on the pitching, which I'll get to in a second. But I do want to see if Paxton Kling's available to be out there in the game today. I would like that a lot. I'd like him to get an at-bat or two, just because he was out with some injury over the weekend, and that's a guy that I think is going to have a big role on this team moving forward. So I'd like to see just his health moving forward tonight. As far as pitching, Christian Little's going to start the game. There's kind of a thought process based on production over the last 3 weeks that Little may prefer to come into a clean inning as opposed to a dirty inning. Came into that dirty inning in College Station and immediately issued a walk. Then he got a couple strikeouts. Then he gave up the ground ball. Came into a dirty inning, obviously, that was a nightmare in the game on Friday against Arkansas and wasn't great. Gave up the 3-run homer after a walk. So they'll get him on the mound to start an inning, see if he can't get him 6, 8 outs, and then kind of move to the bullpen. I'd like to see Christian Little throw strikes, look the dominant force that he can be against an overmatched opponent. That's what this is. So looking forward to Christian Little getting back out there and kind of establishing some dominance. There's something about being a high leverage reliever, which I've already told you, I think Garrett Edwards gets the first look at that this weekend, but certainly LSU's going to need Christian Little. I mean, you don't have to have everybody on their game all the time, and you're not going to count on just 2 or 3 people, but Little's going to be one of the guys that you count on moving forward in some sort of role. And when you're in that kind of a relief role, just the feeling that you're a dominant pitcher and the confidence you can carry yourself with matters to that position. And so if he can go out there and kind of dominate this Grambling offense, get 4 or 5 punch outs in 2 innings, that would be, I think, good for the juju to get him out there this coming weekend feeling like he's the dominant guy that he can be. Griffin Herring did throw a couple of innings on Saturday. That's a guy that staff is really high on. So let's see if maybe he doesn't get an inning here or there to kind of keep fine-tuned. That's a guy that I'm just feeling optimistic about for whatever reason. The radar gun is a little louder than I thought it would be. I thought he would be a 89 and 91 guy, and he's gotten it up to 92, 93, 94. And the breaking ball is pretty good. The command wasn't great on Saturday, but the stuff's good enough where he missed some bats and was able to get some outs against a good offense. I'd like to see him out there again, and I'm not going to give up on this. This will be the 3rd consecutive midweek game, Tuesday game, that I've gone on the air and said the same thing. I'm not giving up on Bryce Collins as a key piece to this team. I'm just not. And I know that there are some people that watch that are a little bit concerned with the bullpen. Well, what is Christian Little going to give me? Okay, Riley Cooper, what kind of role does he use? And, okay, is Edwards going to be able to fill that deal? Well, now Ackenhausen's not feeling great, so what's the deal there? And, you start to dwindle your numbers down, and you're going to have some guys to help. And Collins' stuff is way too good for him to sit over there and hold a clipbook for all of May and June. It just is. I say clipboard. He didn't need to be holding a book or a board for the entire months of May or June. He needs to be grabbing a baseball, warming up, and getting some key outs. And this is another team that will very likely be overwhelmed with the velocity and breaking stuff that Bryce Collins can throw up there. There's no reason on a Tuesday night against Grambling that Bryce Collins can't go out there, throw a bunch of strikes, and get some outs. He doesn't have to nibble. He doesn't have to make sure he's down in the zone. He doesn't have to make sure he's away. He doesn't have to be afraid of leaving a ball over the plate and having to hit off the scoreboard. You can just pitch aggressively when you're the more talented player on the field. And Bryce Collins is more talented than anybody Grambling's going to put out there offensively. So, to me, that's what these games are good for. This game is not good for LSU's RPI. This game is not especially good for facing elite-level pitching. Grambling's not going to throw any of that at you. They're probably going to kick the ball around a little bit. The thing you can draw the most from in midweek games is pitching, because it's still 60 feet 6 inches, and the batter's still holding the bat. He may be an All-American from Florida. He may be a guy that hits 197 for Grambling. It doesn't matter. You just pitch and make your pitches. And that's what I want to see from Bryce Collins. So at this point, I'm a broken record on this. I know that. I've talked about it 3 weeks in a row. If you listen to the show, you've probably heard me say it and go, why does he keep talking about the guy who doesn't even get out there on the weekends? Because he needs to. He needs to. LSU is not going to be the best version of itself that you're always chasing unless you've got 5, 6, 7 bullpen arms you can really trust. And right now, you can't really get close to that. And it's unlikely to get to 7 guys who are lights out in the bullpen. That's unrealistic in college baseball. College baseball bullpens, by definition, are generally not great because you're going to use probably your 4-ish best arms as your Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters and your back-end closer. And you got 11.7 scholarships, and you got to fill out a 35-man roster. And the fact is that you've got 11 really good pitchers generally is not going to happen. But this team is really talented, and you've got guys right now that aren't helping a ton that I think can, which is an enviable position to be in. Most of the time at this point in the season, you're doing what Ole Miss is doing and going, well, we've kind of tried everybody, and none of them are really getting anybody out. Mississippi State's tried 103 different weekend rotations, and none of it works. That's not where LSU is. You've got some guys who are kind of solidified themselves. Now you got to find the ancillary guys, and I think Bryce Collins is one of those. So for tonight, I'd like to see if Paxton Kling is available in some capacity. That would make me feel a little bit better. Like to see Christian Little come out, start, throw it over the plate, and dominate, kind of bounce off the mound, show that kind of swagger that you need. I'd like to see Griffin Herring go out there and throw some strikes, and I'd really like to see Bryce Collins in the strike zone the entire time he's out there. And the odds are you're probably playing 7 innings tonight, so you better get all this done pretty quickly because the games kind of go fast. But that's what I'm looking for tonight. LSU and Grambling, 6:30 for your first pitch from Alec Box Stadium. Incidentally, as I mentioned, I'll be on the call for LSU and Grambling. No sports trivia tonight if you're in the Pluckers Crew Weekly. Highly advised you get by Pluckers for a little pregame beverage or some food, or if you go out to the box and want to get some dinner later after the game, want to get a cold beer and watch some sports on TV, highly recommend getting by Pluckers on Nicholson. However, we will not have sports trivia tonight. Back in action next Tuesday with some sports trivia for you. All right, we'll take a timeout. Glenn West, go 247, talking some football and baseball on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The tournament's heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at the no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued and non-withdrawable bonus bet expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem oneself, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bounced over to Go 247 briefly a moment ago. Cover story there. LSU working Harold Perkins at inside linebacker proves more versatility is on the way. Person who penned that piece, Glenn West, joins us every Tuesday here in his 1:30 slot. Does so now. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So Harold Perkins working at inside linebacker gives LSU some more versatility. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it was kind of the expectation heading into this spring that LSU would be a little bit more diverse with how they're starting to use Perkins, and we've seen that so far this spring. He's been getting a lot of looks, especially during individual drills, working with inside linebackers. We've seen them. They do this drill right at the beginning of practice where they line up and pretty much like a 4-2-5 set defensively, and he's right there on the inside next to Omar Spades on the first team. So I think it's just an indication that they're starting to look at that. I think probably one of the biggest things last year that's kind of gone under the radar is that, LSU didn't throw the bag at Harold in his first year in terms of just letting him, play a lot of different positions on the field. They were very careful with how much they put on his plate, and I think that's a really, really good thing for LSU heading into this offseason, because now, defenses or opposing offenses and opposing teams that they're going to be playing this year, they can scheme up, and for one thing that they saw last year, but LSU is going to have the ability, I think, now to be able to throw 3 or 4 different things at defenses in terms of where they line Harold up, what he's asked to do. That makes, obviously, the defense more versatile. It makes what he's able to do and have his success a little bit more versatile. And I think it's a really good move for LSU to get him some looks at inside linebacker, and we'll see if he can start making some plays at a different spot this year.
Speaking of the defensive side of the ball, one of the guys that I've been reading a little bit about and saw in the 2 practices that I was able to attend, kind of working at some different spots, is Javian Toviano, the freshman defensive back who's early enrolled. When you've seen him, what have you noticed about him, and where do you think his role is as a freshman?
Yeah, I mean, they've worked him out some at safety. He's certainly been at cornerback as well with a bunch of those transfers, getting some reps in there. The thing that really stands out to me is he's, every bit of 6'1", 200 pounds. I think he's really physically ready to compete at this level. I think that's probably the big thing that really jumps out to me when watching him. And look, you've been out there. You can only see 20 minutes of individual drills, so there's no sweeping declarations in terms of how he's cutting and how he's moving. But I think he's a guy that Coach Kelly's talked about. If there's one position group on the defense that's healthy and where they can move some guys around, it's going to be in the secondary and at safety and cornerback. And you just look at the numbers at safety. It's Greg Brooks, it's Major Burns, and then it's a bunch of question marks in terms of who plays after those guys. You hope that Sage Ryan can get into the nickel conversation again this year, but having a guy like Toviano who can play 2 positions, I think, is a really good move for LSU this spring.
Let's talk some baseball now. Number 1 Tigers taking on Grambling tonight, and then Tennessee over the weekend in a monster series. Let's go back to the Arkansas weekend that was here at the Box. What did you make of the late game scenario that played out in game 1 where LSU didn't have enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a rough day for the bullpen in that 10th inning. I think you certainly hope that a guy like Christian Little can bounce back from that and learn from that performance. But really, I mean, for a 1-1 game going into the 10th inning, it was very entertaining. I mean, this was a pitcher's duel of epic proportions, and I think probably the biggest thing that LSU was able to do was run out their 2 best lefties on Friday and not have them appear again in the rest of the series. I think that was huge to have Hagen Smith throw all those pitches, get up to 80. He was a guy that shut LSU out last year, and certainly being able to get him out of the game, on Friday out of the series was really beneficial to them in terms of the success they were able to have on Saturday. So that was probably the biggest takeaway outside of Paul Skenes' pure dominance on Friday. I mean, that guy is just, haven't seen anything like him on the mound at this level. He's incredible.
What was the most impressive offensive piece to Saturday?
You got to go with Dylan Cruz. I mean, we've known it, for most of this season in the non-conference play, just what a special season this could turn out to be. But the fact that he's backed it up here in the first 2 weeks of SEC play against some really stout competition on the mound, that's been just amazing to watch. I mean, he's batting, I think, over 600 in SEC play, which is just incredible. He's batting well over 530 and on the season, and it's getting to the point where if he goes 2 for 4 with a home run and a couple RBIs, his average is going down. I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do. Probably having the conversation pretty soon about, is he the greatest LSU baseball player to ever play here? And I think he's, you certainly want to hope to get some hardware to go along with that, but he's certainly making the conversation interesting right now with his play.
What would you do if you were an opposing manager over a weekend set with him? Is he good enough to just say, okay, we're just not going to deal with him?
He's getting there. I mean, I think he's certainly getting there, and I think the thing about him is he just he never gets out of his approach. And we've talked with him about that. We've talked with Jay Johnson about that. The thing that's really taken his game to the next level is he doesn't chase balls. He really stays within himself. And if he gets a ball over the plate that he likes, he's swinging at it. And he's more times than not getting on base with it. And so if you want to pitch around him, that's your decision. But you also got Tommy White, who's just coming off a 2 home run game with about 7 or 8 RBIs in that last Sunday game or last Saturday game. So there's really no sore spot, I think, to where you can really pitch around Dylan Cruz when you got a guy like that backing him up.
Would you give Cade Meloso more opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Cade, that swing he had in the 4th inning of Game 3 was was huge in terms of tying the game up right away, and goes 3 for 4 on the day. Guy that I think Jay Johnson is really just trusts a lot as a veteran guy who's played in this conference, for many years now. And I would absolutely give him more opportunities moving forward. Johnson likes to have the left-handed bats in there, and Cade's been really responding at first base when he's gotten those opportunities as well. So it allows you to be a little bit more flexible with how you use Trey Morgan, and so that's certainly an option that I think LSU is going to continue to explore.
If LSU had to get 3 outs on Thursday of this week to win a 1-0 game, Paul Skenes was done, who do you think Jay would be most comfortable going to at that point?
It's hard not to say Garrett Edwards right now, but I'll throw in Chase Shores. I mean, I think Chase, did a really nice job of backing Skenes up on Friday. You throw out 2 electric pitchers who are throwing, shoving 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. That's just really hard for offenses to keep up with. And I really liked how Shores responded, after, Skenes went out there on Friday, and he got you through another couple scoreless innings. So I would say Chase Shores. I mean, I think you want to save Garrett Edwards for some longer middle relief innings, and he's certainly proven capable of doing that. But if you're looking for 3 outs and you're facing a new pitcher, I think Shores and his velocity is just really hard to keep up with at the end of a game.
All right, Tennessee coming to town Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It'll be Chase Dollander. It'll be Chase Burns. It'll be Drew Beam. It's probably the best rotation in college baseball. How do you think LSU's offense will respond to that?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, look, I think you're going to have probably, I know it's opening week this week in the MLB, but you're going to have plenty of scouts, plenty of managers, I think, around Major League Baseball coming to Baton Rouge this weekend for this matchup. It's going to be very fun. Look, Chase Dollander obviously is the guy that is right up there with Paul Skenes. I think you're probably looking at 1, 2 in whatever order you want in terms of the best pitchers in college baseball. And that matchup Friday is going to be really interesting to figure out. I think probably the biggest thing is if you're LSU, you want to capitalize on mistakes, which have been very good at this year. If Tennessee gives you a couple free bases, you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on those opportunities. But outside of that, don't make too much of the series. I think LSU has been really good mentally all season long about kind of staying within themselves, not getting out of their approaches at the plate, and if they're able to back that up again this weekend, you're looking at a really, really strong start to conference play.
We'll see you at the box tonight, Glenn. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, Go247 senior writer for all your football, baseball, basketball team needs, as well as recruiting. You can find the guys over there at Go247. All right, when we come back, there was a name that entered the transfer portal yesterday in college basketball that I think is going to have some eyes on Baton Rouge. I'll tell you why next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Trey Godfrey is our March champion of Louisiana. Trey has dedicated his career to bettering Baton Rouge, and he's currently the Senior VP of Policy for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. In his work there, he oversees education policy, among many other things, that allows him to make an impact from a more systemic perspective. Nothing more important than the education of our young people, and Trey is instrumental in that here in the capital city. That's why he's a champion of Louisiana. If you know someone like Trey, maybe it's a nonprofit or a business that's doing great work for our state, we want to tell their story, and LWCC gives us that platform. So go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate someone you know, a company you're aware of, to be a champion of Louisiana. Trey Godfrey is March's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
At Corville Toyota in Opelousas, you can get 3.99% financing on select 2023 models. And as always, you will never pay over MSRP. We also have a large selection of pre-owned inventory. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corville Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me?
On Wednesdays, OTB, Flestering is finally back. Plus, hear from Coach Jay Johnson as the Tigers get ready to take on the Volunteers on a Thursday starting series. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In years past, I think the entire college basketball world would descend on the Final Four this coming weekend. Don't know that that's the case this weekend and moving forward. Why? Because coaches may need to be making some phone calls and trying to assemble next year's roster. Transfer portal is absolutely running like crazy in the college basketball world. There are 4 teams left. Everybody else is trying to figure out who's going to play for them next year. And Matt McMahon certainly falls into that category. And we've seen name after name after name after name fly into the transfer portal. Former top 50 player here, senior guard here. And it's like all these, I'm sitting here going, I don't know who's relevant as far as LSU and who LSU would have interest in or who would have interest in LSU. Until a name popped up yesterday. And it's a name that I had heard and that I had kind of been on the lookout for, and it showed up in the transfer portal yesterday. That name is Jordan Wright. Jordan Wright just finished his 4th year up at Vanderbilt. He is a 6'6", 220-pound, 2-3 guard wing from right here in Baton Rouge at the Dunham School. Jordan is a 1,000-point scorer. Just went over 1,100 points in his Vanderbilt career. He's actually a guy that Jerry Stackhouse got really emotional talking about as their season was coming to a close because Jordan was the first player that Jerry Stackhouse signed at Vanderbilt. And he said he was Vanderbilt loyal, Vanderbilt forever, and I believe that's probably the case, that he's loved his time at Vanderbilt. But he's putting his name in the transfer portal. And I think that this makes a lot of sense for both parties if he were to come to Baton Rouge. Now, keep in mind, I tell you when at times I know this or hear that from inside whatever program it may be. I have no information on what Jordan Wright's plans are, where he has eyes, or what LSU staff is looking for. But I can tell you I know what's on LSU's roster right now, and I've watched Jordan Wright play for 4 years, and this makes a ton of sense. Jordan Wright is not going to come to another SEC team and average 21 a night and shoot 44% from three and be a first-team All-SEC player. That's probably not where he's headed. What Jordan Wright is a veteran, a guy with a ton of on-court SEC experience, and a lot of that's very positive. I mean, you're talking about a guy who has started 73 games for an SEC team. Talking about a guy who, back in the 2022 season, shot 35% from three and made 46 threes on the year. That dipped this past year to 31%. You like to see it closer to his sophomore year percentage, which was 43%. But he's got a big body, a big frame. He is a skilled player, can shoot, and had some really impressive games this year. Of course, his most memorable shot this year was beating Kentucky at the buzzer, basically. That was at Rupp. Vandy won that game. He had the big bucket. He was awesome in that game. Dust settled. He had 23 points. He followed it up with 19 against Mississippi State, scored 15 against LSU. He had a stretch in early March where he had 23 on Kentucky, 19 on Mississippi State's good defense, 15 on LSU, 18 on Kentucky, 17 on Texas A&M. This is a guy that gives you some offensive punch. He's not wildly explosive. He's not going to make a ton of highlight reel plays. He's just a skilled veteran SEC. This is not one where you have to look at a mid-major and say, okay, I know he did this there, but does it translate? And if you're lucky, you get KJ Williams and it does. And if you're a guy that doesn't necessarily translate, you've got a guy on your roster that can't really help you. Jordan Wright's done this against the SEC. So for him to be a potential two-guard or a small forward, a wing on the next LSU team, I think makes a ton of sense. And I would be all for it if LSU were to make that move. They still need lots of other things. They still need a point guard badly. They still need a dead-eye shooter. They need some depth in the post. The post is where you got more of your base right now because you've got Sean Phillips, who emerged a little bit and then can help you. You've got Derek Fountain, who's a veteran player that can certainly help you. Jalen Reed is a talented player that's 6'10", that you can build on. You've got some guys in the post that you figure can help you out. It's in the guard play where you've got to supplement some things. And you feel like Tyrell Ward can be a guy. Adam Miller is certainly a player at this level. Jordan Wright would mix in with those guys as the foundation of your wings to move forward. Again, this is not a program-changing move if LSU were to go get Jordan Wright. He would help next year immediately because he's been a solid role player at Vanderbilt now for 3 years, for 73 starts, for 123 games. If you want the statistics in the most recent 2 years, this past year he averaged 10.5 points per game. 2 years ago he averaged 12.3 points per game in the Southeastern Conference. He's a good free throw shooter. He helps you on the board at 6-5 rebounds per game. Sometimes can turn the ball over, but he can help you out on defense. This is a guy that makes a lot of sense. I can't tell you when somebody from North Carolina or Eastern Washington or Texas Southern or Cal Berkeley goes in the portal, whether or not LSU's interested or they want to come here. Jordan Wright's from here. He's played in the SEC. I can tell you this one would make a lot of sense to me. So we'll keep you posted as things move forward. He just went into the portal yesterday, so I wouldn't certainly anticipate anything immediate. Got some options. Might as well look. But that name I saw caught my eye. I went, okay, that seems to make some sense. If you missed any of hour number one, you can catch us on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. Always Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. All our audio is uploaded there each and every day. You can search The Hunt Palmer Show. Should be able to subscribe, like, rate, review. We always appreciate that. I opened the show talking about some quotes that Jay Johnson gave yesterday about Garrett Edwards and specifically Paul Skenes and what I think it means for LSU's program moving forward. not just this team. 115 gave you some looks into LSU and Grambling tonight, 6:30 first pitch. Glenn West in his normal spot for Go 247 at 1:30. Coming up in hour number 2, the Saints are adding Jari Evans to their coaching staff. What does that mean? Are the Pels maybe finding a little bit of a groove behind Trey Murphy, B.I., and the crew? Sharif Ishak will help us with that coming up at 2:30. We'll break for SportsCenter. When we come back, I'll give you my report card grade for every single SEC basketball program now that the dust has settled. Who kind of overshot their expectation, who underachieved and needs a pencil whipping. Tell you about that coming up in the second hour. Hope your Tuesday is off to a great start. Appreciate you spending some time with us. You're listening to the Capital City's leader in sports talk. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Jeep Gladiators and $8,000 off new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokees. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. 2 fully financed bids for the Washington Commanders have been submitted. One by the Josh Harris Group, which now includes Magic Johnson, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The other by Canadian billionaire Steve Apostolopoulos, according to Schefter and ESPN's Brian Windhorst. Both meet owner Dan Snyder's $6 billion asking price. With the scandals surrounding Snyder and the team, the hope of NFL owners is that this sale is completed relatively soon, explains ESPN's Dan Graziano.
When we've talked to people here about the Commander's situation, the sense you get is that the owners would really like the sale to move along and reach its conclusion so they don't have to worry about, taking a vote to remove Dan Snyder or anything like that. They want him to sell and have it clean, and then he's out, and they have a new business partner there in Washington that can maybe get a stadium built and all that.
Dan Graziano on Fitz and Harry. High praise for Aaron Rodgers today from Packers coach Matt LaFleur. Said at the NFL owners meetings he's got nothing but love and appreciation for all Rodgers has done for so many in Green Bay. He also said to temper expectations for QB Jordan Love. Packers have no deadline to finalize Rodgers' trade to the Jets.
A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on a Tuesday. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Fired up for Thursday. Going to be opening day in Major League Baseball. We will be out at Rally Cap Brewing from 3:30 to 5:30. Watching some baseball, enjoying their delicious beers over there at Rally Cap. Just chatting it up. And it's also kind of a de facto tailgate party for LSU in Tennessee at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. So I'll be out at Rally Cap from 3:30 to 5:30. So off Segan. And then at 5:30, I'll head over to the box, and we'll get ready for Tigers and Vols. So I hope to see y'all out there at Rally Cap, 3:30 to 5:30 on Thursday. We'll have some delicious beers. We'll be cooking up some brats as well, so it should be a good time out at Rally Cap. All right, SEC basketball is in the rearview mirror. Everybody is out. Nobody left in the Final Four. So I got the old grading pen out. I'm going to tell you what I think. There's a lot that goes into this. It's your expectation level, your talent level, what went on throughout the course of the season, and, of course, how you finish things does matter. I talk all the time about how I don't necessarily grade the college baseball season and where the program is based on one weekend in June. Sometimes things just don't quite go the way you think, and it's a baseball game, and it happens. And in basketball, that can sometimes be the same case. Have a terrible shooting day, catch a red-hot 15 seed, whatever the case may be. But you can also redeem yourself in March if you didn't have the season you wanted to have, and you can make a run. And so I weighed it all in and gave my grades. I'm going to go down in terms of I'm just going to do the SEC standings, and then I'll give my grades as list the teams off. Bama went 31-6 this year. They won the league, went 16-2, won the SEC tournament, and they made it to the Sweet 16. In the non-conference, they beat Houston. They raced through the SEC. You had the SEC Player of the Year. You were the number 1 national seed. Hard to give too difficult a grade when you have that kind of success. But you got beat in the Sweet 16. Did not make the Elite Eight, did not make the Final Four, did not push for a national championship. So what are we grading on here when San Diego State beats you? I give them a B+. That's a lot of really good body of work to just have it go south over the last 20 minutes of the season. I can't give you a D or an F because you were really, really good and you had a bad 20 minutes. But I can give you a B+. It's not an A. It's just not an A. When you're that good, that talented, have that kind of season, and you don't even get to the Elite Eight. B+ for me on Bama. Texas A&M, 25-10 on the season, 15-3 in league play. They get to the NCAA tournament, and you lose in the first round. Now, I look at this whole picture, and it's an A&M team that lost to Wofford, lost to Boise State, lost to Murray State in the non-conference. That stuff counts, but when you get to SEC play and you rip off a 15-3 record, that's impressive, and I think should have been rewarded with better than a 7 seed. But they didn't play very well in the first round of the tournament. Out. To me, it's an A. And it may not look as good if they don't struggle in November and December because they were so good at the end of last year. The expectations ratcheted up, and then they kind of bottomed out again when you have such a poor December. But I give Texas A&M and Buzz an A because that's a really impressive run through the SEC. And I think the committee kind of shorted them one. Kentucky finished third in the league, 22-12, 12-6 overall. Got to the second round of the NCAA tournament. So to me, it's not a failure, but it's not great. In the SEC schedule, Kentucky, with the reigning National Player of the Year and a 2-time SEC assist leader and a Conference Player of the Year that you brought into your program and a couple of 5-star recruits, you lost to South Carolina. You lost to Georgia. In the non-conference, you played Michigan State, lost. You played Gonzaga, lost. Played UCLA, lost. C+ for me. C+. You won a tournament game, so not just a colossal failure, but to me, that's a C+ for Kentucky. Missouri finished fourth in the league. They were 25-10, 11-7 in league play. Got to the round of 32. And then you lost to Princeton. Princeton? That's tough. I know Princeton played well in the first round. They played well in the third round. I saw it. It's Princeton. But nobody had any expectation for Missouri this year. And they formed an identity of a fast-paced, really offensive, steel-heavy defensive team. And they went 11-7 in the league and won a tournament game. It's an A for me, for Dennis Gates. That program's been sleeping for a while. And he woke it up a little bit. We'll see what he can do in the portal. He's got to go back and get some new guys. But to me, Missouri gets an A. Tennessee, 25-11, 11-7 in SEC play. They made it to the Sweet 16. Look, this team had 3 seniors who were battle-tested in SEC play. Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James, Uros Plavsic. Those are guys who have been through it. Zakai Ziegler comes in after a really nice freshman year. Pull in Julian Phillips, a 5-star. They looked great early in the year, and the defense was phenomenal. Historic, even, how good they were on defense. The offense stunk. And you lost 11 league games, which is not what this team should have done. But you get in the tournament, you knock off a scrappy Louisiana Lafayette team, and then you beat Duke. That's still a big deal. And they got to the second weekend. So was it the ending that Vols fans were hoping for as of early January? No, it wasn't. Was it a colossal failure? It was not. It's a B+ for me for Tennessee. Vandy, 22-15, 11-7 in league play. They lost in the non-conference to Southern Miss and Grambling. But they won 12 of their last 15, including beating Kentucky twice, beat Tennessee. And they lost in the NIT quarters. For me, for Jerry Stackhouse, I give them an A. They finally started winning some games. They've been coaching real well, hadn't recruited well enough. They started winning some games. Good for Vandy. They get an A. Auburn, 21-13. They finished 10-8 in the league. Got to the second round of the NCAA tournament and gave up 50 points in the second half to Houston and lost. After January the 21st, they were 5-10 as a basketball team. Just never really got it figured out. For me, for Bruce Pearl, that's a C+. Got to the tournament, won a game. Was it a great year? No, it wasn't. Florida, 16-17, a losing record, but 9-9 in SEC play. They lost in the opener of the NIT. Their only SEC wins that were over teams with a winning record were Tennessee and Mississippi State. They lost Castleton late. I know that dings you. First year for Coach Golden. 9 wins is not bad, but it's a B- for me. Well, you didn't beat anybody that was very good. You didn't do anything in the tournament. Fine. Mississippi State, 21-13 on the year. They finished 8-10 in SEC play. They made the NCAA tournament, lost in the first 4 to Pittsburgh. But what they did in first year under Chris Jans, they developed an identity as a defensive team. From December the 20th to January 28th, they were 1-8. And then they turned it on and won 9 of their last 13 games to get into the tournament. That's an A for me. Mississippi State, you get an A. Arkansas, this is maybe the hardest one to grade. 22-14. They were 8-10 in SEC play. 8-10 for a top 10 team. But you got to the Sweet 16. So what's more important? Well, obviously, getting to the Sweet 16 is more important than what you do in January. But it just never quite clicked. So I can't give it an A because of the preseason expectations. I think Eric Musselman did a pretty good job coaching this team. At the end, you were just without Trevin Brazile. You had Nick Smith Jr. back. Sweet 16's good. I'll give you a B+. Georgia, 16-16 on the year, 6-12 in league play. They lost their last 6 games by a combined 125 points. They did beat Kentucky. They beat Auburn. They beat Mississippi State. They had some reasonable wins. They finished with a thud, and that hurts. So I'm going to give Georgia a D. Nice couple of wins, nothing in the non-conference, nothing to show for it in terms of postseason play. 6-12 in the league. Mike White, back to the drawing board. South Carolina gets a D for me. 11-21. They were 4-14 in the league. Of course they came into the PMAC. Of course they did. And made 15 threes. They lost to George Washington and Furman. Somehow they beat Kentucky. But South Carolina gets a D for me. Ole Miss, 12-21. They finished 3-15 in the league. Year 7 under Kermit. Finished 3-15 in the league. That's the only F I'm going to give. That's an F. Failing grade for the Rebels. And your last place team, LSU. 14-19 in SEC play. 2-16 in the league. I'm going to give it a D- because I think the situation was impossible. Ole Miss gets an F because they should have been on solid ground. It's year 7 for Kermit. Matt McMahon came in a tough spot. I'll give him a D-. 2-16, not great. So that's my list of running through the SEC. Your A's were A&M, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Your only failing grade, Ole Miss Rebels, who now have a new head basketball coach in Chris Beard. All right. That's a look at SEC basketball for, I guess, the last time. We can put it all in the rearview mirror until LSU starts getting transfer portal guys. So let's take a look at a couple of other things down in New Orleans here in the next segment. The Saints have added a future Hall of Famer to their staff, and are the Pelicans finding a little bit of groove? We'll talk about that, and then we'll readdress it with Sharif Ishak coming up at 2:30. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your.
So join us for Tuesday's AFR. I'm in for Matt one more day. We'll preview LSU and Grambling from the box, recap Pels, Blazers, and the latest from the NFL owners meetings. Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sean Payton's done a lot of shopping in South Louisiana for staff members. Obviously pulled Jamar Cain from LSU staff, and you'll remember back a couple months ago, added Zach Strief to his staff up in Denver. Strief kind of, I don't know if legend's the right word, but has a long tenure and a great relationship with the New Orleans Saints and the city of New Orleans as a really strong player on the offensive line for the Saints, and then obviously as a broadcaster on the Saints radio network. And he went back down to the sidelines to be assistant offensive line coach, and Sean Payton has hired him to be the offensive line coach up with the Broncos. So the Saints made a little bit of a move. Grab one of his contemporaries to be assistant offensive line coach. That is former All-Pro Jari Evans. Evans was fantastic as a player for the Saints, potentially ticketed for the Hall of Fame. Was a tremendous, tremendous player for New Orleans on the interior offensive line on those juggernaut offenses piloted by Drew Brees. And he will join Doug Marrone's staff. I'm not in any position to sit here and tell you how qualified Jari Evans is as a coach. I can tell you he was a brilliant player, and I can tell you that he spent some time coaching last year. And there are people, and Luke Johnson is the one who broke this story over at NOLA.com, our buddy who comes on frequently during football season. He says that many people within the organization have credited Cesar Ruiz's strides and the improvement that he's made to working with Jari Evans, which sounds very, very good. when you hear Jari Evans talk about Cesar Ruiz, he said he's a good player. He's fast. He can reach guys. I think one of the things that coach is going to emphasize with him is going into the season is using his hands more. I was a big hands guy. I used my hands, didn't allow guys to get into me. Just be more aggressive with his hands, and I think he's going to have a big year this year, and that came to fruition as Cesar Ruiz did make some real huge strides. And, the Saints didn't know what they were going to do with McCoy and Ruiz, and they both drafted him. We had the COVID deal, and finally that dust settled. They figured out where those guys needed to be, and you saw an improved interior offensive front when the Saints were healthy. Now, they had issues at running back, quarterback, and just the offense never found what it was supposed to be. But we're talking about an offensive line coach here who's going to help the Saints and appears to have helped significantly last year. So a great move there for the Saints to move Jari Evans up. He was a guy who kind of got this opportunity because he worked as an intern with the team as part of the Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship Program, which is aimed at providing NFL coaching experience to talented minority candidates, and that's kind of where this situation came from. So Jari Evans will be assistant offensive line coach for the New Orleans Saints, a spot that was vacated by Zach Strief a little bit earlier this year. Pels get a win last night. They played kind of the Portland Trail Blazers. In a way, it was kind of Portland, but they got a convincing win as Portland was sitting basically everybody. But they don't take that into account when you plug in the standings. They just tell you what happened on the scoreboard. And when the dust settled, the scoreboard was pretty emphatic that the Pelicans had handled the Trailblazers 124-90. Brandon Ingram got off to an incredibly hot start. He was knocking down shots. He was distributing. He finished the game with 29 points. And I think Trey Murphy continues to be a nice little piece to this puzzle, as well as he added 16. He didn't shoot it well from three, but he did knock down his 5 free throws and contributed offensively. And I don't bring up Trey Murphy because of what he did last night. I bring him up because of what he's been over the last 22 games, which is a real sample size here of what he has become. And it's 16.8 points per game. It's 3.5 rebounds per game. It's an assist and a half per game. It's a steal per game. And he has kind of found his groove and his role on this team. There's this young nucleus of role players between Herb and Jose Alvarado when he's healthy, and Trey Murphy, and you're kind of looking around and thinking, okay, what's the future hold? And Trey is kind of ascended. I think at the beginning of last year, we may have thought that Herb Jones was that guy, and he certainly has his role. He's an excellent defensive player, and is that almost nightly. And you need that. But Murphy's found his role as well as a really good offensive player. You think he kind of leans more so on threes, and he does shoot threes at a really strong clip, but he also has some other facets to his offensive game. So that's from an individual perspective. I think as far as the Pelicans go right now, you look up, and certainly after winning 4 in a row, you are in a much better position than you were in a week and a half ago. You beat the Rockets, you beat the Spurs, you beat the Hornets, you beat the Clippers, you beat the Blazers. We talked about this West Coast swing, and the Pels have gotten the first 2 legs of that, which we felt they needed to, because the Warriors are very difficult to beat at home, and we know what the Lakers can be. So, you know what the Nuggets can be. And so, for me, I'm not going to change my tune completely on the Pelicans because they've won 5 in a row against bad basketball teams. That's what they've done. They've beaten tanking teams and teams that are sitting half their lineup and teams that are not going to make much noise in the playoffs, sans potentially the Clippers, who did not have their entire roster out there. We know. I'm encouraged at the interest level of the Pelicans and what the next few games can bring as far as getting them to potentially move up in the standings and create more talking points for us. I'm not convinced that the Pelicans have somehow found it and that they're doing what they did last year in the last month of the season and what they were heading into the play-in when they were able to win a couple of games and get into a real series. I'm not ready to do that. We'll see what Sharif says coming up here in 6 minutes. But to me, this is beating awful teams. This is not proving much of anything. It's just doing what you're supposed to do. I would have a visceral reaction to it if they couldn't beat the Spurs or they couldn't beat that Blazers team. I would say, well, this is even worse than we thought. I'm not going to react as strongly on the other side because they've won games against teams that aren't very good. Now, you go beat Golden State tonight, I'll pay attention. Okay. That's different. I'm not suggesting they can't. I'm just telling you, sitting in this chair right here, I'm not ready to flip the switch on the Pelicans and say, oh, you know what they did last year? This is this group's MO. They know Zion's probably not coming back. BI's kind of found it. They're going to be the team they were at the end of last year. Well-oiled machine. No, I'm not there because of that game. Yeah, you won by 34 last night. That's great. Do it again tonight. They were able to get some guys off the floor late in the game. Maybe that helps with some fresher legs today. Those back-to-backs, especially on the road, are always tough. But it's good. I want them to win. I want us to be able to talk about it. I want them to create some drama, whether it's getting into the playoffs altogether, whether it's getting into the play-in, not necessarily falling all the way out. I don't want that. But I'm glad that they've found a little bit of a groove here. Let's see if they can carry it into tonight against the Warriors. That game will be on TNT, 9 o'clock, our time here in the capital city. All right, I want to get Sharif's thoughts on it. One, on a couple of the Saints headlines with Jari Evans moving in and what he thinks about that. Said that Michael Thomas is not healthy all the way. Dennis Allen gave that update from out west, that he's not quite ready to roll, but they're hopeful that he'll be there here in the coming weeks. Get Sharif's thoughts on that. And then what he thinks about this Pelly team and what kind of prospects they have moving forward with the rest of this season, which is coming to an end very, very rapidly. Come back with us, Sharif Ishak from WDSU on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Now let's head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll find Sharif Ishak, WDSU. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Are the Pelicans back? Are they an NBA title contender now? 5 in a row.
Absolutely. Going to the finals, baby. We're going to go through every single team in the Western Conference, and we're going to win the West, and then take care of business against whoever comes out of the East and sweep them.
Sounds like a plan, but what's actually the case after these 5 wins? Do you feel encouraged?
I mean, remember what I told you last week on the phone when I said they had to win those games at home against those bad teams, which they did. I told you they are a favorable matchup against the Clippers, which they showed because they just continue to own them, and they've won 8 of the last 9 games in that series for a reason. It's just a matchup nightmare for the Clippers. And then Portland is absolute tank. They're terrible. They had nobody playing, and they did what they're supposed to do against a bad team. I like the way they're playing, though. I mean, it's not just winning barely. I mean, they're just absolutely crushing teams. I think they've won by an average of 23 points in the last 5 games, and you're doing what you're supposed to do. And it looks like they're kind of playing with a little bit more confidence, especially defensively. And that really is something you need down the stretch here.
What's the difference? I mean, is it effort? Is it execution? Is it they're playing teams that aren't playing their full rosters? And what does it look like?
It's a little bit of everything. I mean, you see BI. BI is the one who's like locked and focused right now after missing. Even he said it after missing those 30 games because of his toe. He feels locked and focused and engaged and ready to go. And with him being the way he's playing right now, being on fire, like in all facets of his game, not just offensively and passing out the ball. It's just he's playing pretty good defensively as well. And that's what they need. They need him locked in defensively to have a chance to win. And like I told you throughout the season, they need guys like Trey Murphy to step up. They need some of these bench players to continue contributing. And you've seen that in the last 5 games. It's always been someone different. And to me, the thing that's been the most impressive is, it's the defense. I mean, at some point in time, yes, I understand the NBA is an offensive game today, but you still have to play some sort of defense, even if it's against teams who are tanking, and they've shown that in the 5-game winning streak.
What do you think about tonight?
I just don't like this matchup. Like I tell you, they played them there a few weeks ago. They had that 17-point lead. It was frustrating to watch them blow that 17-point lead. But, it's just a team that just shoots well against the Pelicans whenever they play in that building or just in the old building or the new building. It's just not a good matchup for the Pelicans. It's just those are one of those teams that just when they're fully healthy and they're making their shots. If they miss, of course, they're going to get crushed by teams like the Pelicans or anybody else. But don't like it tonight. 8.5 points. I mean, and they lost the other night in horrible fashion to the Timberwolves. So and then they don't really lose many games at home. So it's a tough one, man. But if you follow me, anything I say usually stops at that.
Well, that's That's okay. That's why we have you, so we can predict the future by just going with the opposite. It's the George Costanza special here on a Tuesday. If they were to win tonight, would that change your outlook on this hot streak?
Yes, because I told you that I think 4-2 is good, 5-1 is great. But I told you last week, if they can win 5 or 6 games, that would make me think of, all right, this team is ready to make a push, play in and maybe a 5 or 6 seed, get above the play-in line. And winning tonight or even winning in Denver would be great. But I would like to see them win tonight in a place that's really hard for other teams to win against the champions. So tonight's win would be way more impressive than beating Denver. And that sounds crazy, but I want to see them beat the defending champions in complete effort fashion.
What would it take to get that done?
They do have to play some. They're going to have to play some really good perimeter defense, man, and just can't let these guys get wide open in transition too. There's some times last night in the game where their defense kind of fell asleep, and they let some of the guys just walk right in for baskets, and that's not going to work against Clay and Steph tonight. That's that type of stuff that can get you blown out on the road. So against a good team, they have to play better perimeter defense against a team like this.
I'm going to ask this question in 2 parts. Who's a bigger piece to this specific team, Trey Murphy or Herb Jones?
It's an amazing question. I will start it off by saying Herb has been playing his best basketball in the last month. Defensively, he's just locking people down. What he did to Kawhi Leonard the other night was amazing. Kawhi was 4 of 16. He was, I believe, 1 of 8 against Herb. And that is, I would say he is the bigger key, because at least if you throw him on Clay or Steph or anyone who's like a pure shooter, he can lock them down and minimize the damage. So to me, I think it's him, because he's consistently on the court doing that. And as much as I love Trey going 10 of 12, that isn't happening every night from downtown. So to me, it's Herb.
Who's a bigger piece to this franchise in the next 3 years, Trey Murphy or Herb Jones?
I think, to me, it's going to be Trey Murphy. I think they just invested so much in him, being a first-round pick, and you could see that potential. Like, man, there's some games when he goes on those heaters, and he's like, all right, you could see the shooting plus the way he attacks the basket in an offensive league. I think, to me, it would be him. That would be the answer, because you need somebody who can spot up from the wing consistently. So I'll take him in 2 or 3 years.
How big are these 2 games for the crowds that'll be there against LA, Sacramento, Memphis, and New York at home, 4-game homestand over the course of 8 days? Do you think that this place can get reignited if they can go and get a win, split these last 2 with Golden State and Denver?
I even think if they lose both, it's going to be packed, regardless. Just knowing what's on the line now, like playing or playoff seeding. I think regardless, packed. But splitting or even winning 2, the place is going to explode. The roof's going to come off the Smoothie King Center. If you win both of these games, it's just going to be nuts. Plus look at the teams you're playing. The Kings, you're playing the Grizzlies, you're playing the Knicks. Those are some really good teams. You're playing some solid teams. The Clippers, I know they're stumbling, but still, that's a Saturday game. So yeah, I expect it to be sold out or close to sold out regardless.
So I had this conversation with David Grubb, who we also have on from time to time, talking a little bit of Pels, and it was a couple of days after we had you on, and there was a new update on Zion Williamson, and said, okay, if he can come back and play 3 games, we're gonna give it a shot. Is it worth it to bring him back for 3 games to try to ramp him up and get him ready to go? Does that help your team?
Yeah, tremendously. Yeah, I want him on. He wants to be on the court. He wants to play, and I understand them taking it, in a patient approach so they don't really injure him long term. Yeah, I'm good with it. If he comes back for, let's say, the second to last home game, and you get him, 3 games, and going into the play-in, does anyone want to play that team with a healthy Zion? What he creates for others and for himself, it's only a good thing to have him back on the court in so many different ways for this team.
Does it give you a pause to go, man, what's the risk here that he may get hurt again, and we don't maybe feel like we're a championship caliber team?
Well, the thing is if you're thinking that, then you're thinking, well, if he does it again next season. Yeah. So you're almost now you're at a crossroads with his career. If you're scared to play him now, then are you scared to play him next year if you have that same mindset? To me, you can't be scared. Scared money don't make money. You got to throw him out there. He's already missed almost going to be close to 3 months. You've got to play him. You've got to play him. If he's healthy, good enough to go, you throw him out there. He's missed too many games as it is. So if you can get him out there, it doesn't hurt you at all. I mean, I know the risk factors, but he can also get hurt in game 1 next year too.
Do you think he does play again this year?
Whew, man, I think that my honest opinion is I think if he comes back, it's not until the play-in or playoff, like the first game of the play-in or playoff, because we're talking about with 2 weeks from last Wednesday, the next update, and he's doing some light work. Man, to me, I think it wouldn't be until they get into that play-in game.
That would be some drama if you missed the last 3 months and then played exactly in the first play-in game. How do you think the next two games go at Golden State tonight and then at Denver on Thursday?
Call me crazy, man. I think they have a better chance to win the game in Denver and than they do tonight. And it's a back-to-back, and I understand they didn't play their starters in the fourth quarter last night. I don't know. For some reason, I just like when they play against Denver. And I know it's like that sounds crazy talk because they have the Joker, but for some reason it just matches up a little bit better for them than going against a team full of three-point shooters like the Golden State Warriors. So a split regardless would be great, but I think maybe Denver a little bit more would be a game they could win more than Golden State.
All right, we'll have a lot of information next time we chat. We'll have those two games plus a game at home against L.A. We'll be getting ready for Sacramento that next Tuesday, so we'll do it again next week. Thanks, Sharif.
All right, man. I need at least 2 of 3 this weekend against the beautiful Brody Jenner Tennessee Vols.
We will do our very dead level best. I will be there for all 3 games. I'll give my best effort. That's all I can promise you.
I know you will.
All right, Sharif. See you, man. He is Sharif Ishak, WDSU. I want to remind you once again, one more time, that we'll be out on Thursday at Rally Cap on opening day for Major League Baseball, 3:30 to 5:30, drinking some beers, having some brats, watching some baseball, kind of a pregame party for LSU and Tennessee as well. So I want to invite y'all to come on out to Rally Cap, 3:30 to 5:30 on Thursday. Going to be a great time. Want as many listeners as we can get out there. We will be having a big old time. So reminder, Rally Cap, 3:30 to 5:30 on Thursday. Come on, take one more time out. We'll play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road on a Thursday. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. Just picture your dream bathroom. Make it a reality. It starts with a free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything for David Duvall and his team to come out to your home and just chalk you through what they can do for you. And if it's realistic, make it happen. I can promise you this. David Duvall and his team are going to put together a schedule, and they're going to stick to it. They're going to show up to work. They're going to get their work done, and they're going to move on. And I promise you when they move on, they're not coming back 3 weeks later because they took a shortcut and they got to fix something. It's not how they operate. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. If your closet is cluttered, don't have the room you need, it's just not tailored for your wardrobe, your life, David Duvall and his team can help you fix it. And if you tell him the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, then he's not going to charge you for the rip out of the current closet or the labor to install the new one. Just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. Go to the website. Check out the testimonials. Check out the pictures, and you can request a free consultation right there at the website. It's onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
On Wednesdays, OTB Flestering is finally back. Plus, hear from Coach Jay Johnson as the Tigers get ready to take on the Volunteers on a Thursday starting series. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got a question in the Bayou Ford chat a little earlier from listener Chris McCann. Said, any words on tonight's starter versus Grambling? That'll be Christian Little on the mound. LSU and Grambling tonight, 6:30 p.m. from the box. I'll be on the call with Chris Blair. Pre-game show cranking up at 6 o'clock over on Eagle 98.1. The question was asked, will he be available Thursday against Tennessee? I can promise you he will be. They're not going to burn anybody in this game tonight against Grambling that would compromise them in any way on Thursday against Tennessee. It's just that game is massive and this game is not, and you're likely going to score 16 runs tonight. So you're not going to push anybody pitching-wise to some sort of brink that would compromise them for games against a conference title contender in Tennessee when it's a Tuesday night against Grambling. Just not the way it works. I would expect to see Christian Little for an inning or two, no more than 30, 35 pitches or so. And if he needs to pitch on Thursday because Jay Johnson dubs him as the guy who's got to get big outs on Thursday, then that's the guy that they'll go to. So it's one game is massive, one game is not, and you're massively favored in it. So that'll be the way they handle things tonight. All right, Casey Gaines, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, starting things off here. Today is March 28th. Clowning the Falcons today. Take it or leave it.
On 3/28 day. I won't be clowning the Falcons today on 3/28, but I'm certain that there will be plenty of Saints fans on Facebook and Twitter and all the like that will relish in that. I will say this, like, for sure. When I lived in Shreveport before I came down here, I certainly knew a lot of Saints fans. I did not understand the level of dislike for Atlanta until I moved down here. I'm now very well versed in it. I'm all here for it. I love dislike and hatred and rivalries in sports. You want to clown the Falcons all day today? You can have at it. Might not join it.
Home plate umpire Randy Rosenberg ejected JT Realmuto from a spring training game yesterday because when Rosenberg attempted to put a new baseball in Realmuto's glove, the Phillies catcher accidentally moved the mitt, causing the ball to fall to the ground. Take it or leave it.
Ooh, I saw this one. This was tough. I'm gonna have to leave it. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen an umpire or a referee or an official do in my entire life. This umpire held the ball out. Real Muto wasn't even looking at him and held his mitt open to catch the ball. When it didn't go into his glove, he kind of dropped his arm, and then the umpire dropped the ball and it fell. And I guess the umpire thought Real Muto was showing him up. Mr. Umpire Randy Rosenberg, this is the final week of spring training. No one cares what's going on out on the field right now. Everyone's just trying not to pull a hamstring or tear a UCL. Please stop ejecting all-star players from spring training games because your feelings got hurt. This is so unbelievable on video. If you have not seen this, please go to YouTube or Twitter or somewhere and type in JT Real Muto ejected and see how ridiculous this is an umpire. This isn't easy for me. I don't know who's in charge of the umpires, whether it's the commissioner or the head of umpiring or whoever, but whoever that person is, I would bring young Randy into the room and say, hello, Randy. You're going to need to find employment elsewhere because I'm not going to let anyone who acts like that work for me, period. I'd like you to hand in your mask, hand in your clicker. We'll take the chest protector and the shiny black shoes. You can keep the blue shirt if you want to like hang it up in your room, but we're not going to allow you to work baseball games if you're going to be a child and throw a temper tantrum because the catcher moved his glove. End of discussion. One of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
All right, Hunt, your Cubs signed Nico Horner to a 3-year contract extension. The Cubs front office is in win mode. Take it or leave it.
I will take that. That was an encouraging thing. After not extending anybody, letting Rizzo walk, Bryant walk, Baez walk, couldn't re-sign Lester, didn't want him. They made no effort to keep really anybody that you had as cornerstones of your World Series team. And now it's a cheaper deal and it's a short-term deal, and I get that it's not apples to apples, but I do think the Cubs front office is spending some money. Ownership is spending some money, and I was thrilled to see Nico sign a 3-year contract. He's now my second baseman with Dansby Swanson taking over at short. Cubs crank things up on Thursday. It's going to be like 44 degrees at Wrigley. Not going to be there, but it should be good. I'm excited about it, and yes, I believe they are making an effort now to move forward and win over the next 3 or 4 years.
LeBron James said he saw the LeBron James of foot doctors to nurse him back to health quickly. Take it or leave it.
That's such a statement. I mean, LeBron has come out and said, I think I'm the best player in the world. I think I'm the best of all time. Like, he's said a couple of those things. And quite frankly, I don't have a ton of issue with him saying that. He's put together an absolutely otherworldly career, one of the best players to ever live. And if you want to argue he's the best, I'm not going to sit here and fight you on it. The fact that he went to the lengths to say that the great foot doctor he went to is the LeBron James of foot doctor really is quite a statement. I don't have foot problems at the moment, but if I were to say that I went to the Hunt Palmer of foot doctors, I'd probably be likely to like lose my foot at that point. So I don't have as much confidence in myself maybe as LeBron does in himself. And I guess if he wants to go through life calling people that are great at their jobs the LeBron James of this and that, not the most humble look, but I can't really disagree with him. That's really the issue. And it does kind of say a lot about the fact that LeBron had such a significant injury and has done all this work in hyperbaric chambers and seeing the LeBron James of foot doctor, and he pops back here in a couple of weeks and he's going to play in the playoffs, and Zion tried to run 8 feet and he's been out for 3 months. There's a little bit of a dichotomy there between the healing and regeneration power of the body. And so LeBron's just superhuman in a lot of different ways. So it is what it is, I guess. That's our Tuesday edition of Take It or Leave It. Reminder, as I mentioned, I'll be on the call for LSU and Grambling tonight with Chris Blair. That means no sports trivia tonight at Plucker. So if you're one of those that loves to swing on by for some sports trivia at 8:30, not tonight. We will be back next week. But I do encourage you very much to swing on by Pluckers before the game or during the game. If you don't really want to go out and watch LSU and Grambling, Pluckers will have it on. And certainly if you go out to the box and want to swing by and grab something cold to drink, something delicious to eat post-game, Pluckers can be your spot and should be your spot. I just will not be there for sports trivia because we'll have some radio duties up there with the voice. Very much looking forward to that. I'm trying to get to Thursday as quickly as possible. I'm looking forward to our show on Thursday. I'm looking forward to get to Rally Cap on Thursday. And I'm looking forward to getting out to the box to watch Chase Dolander and Paul Skenes pitch on Thursday. That much I can very much promise you. If you missed any of our show today, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. All of our shows are there. You can click the Hunt Palmer Show. All the audio is archived right there. If you're more of a Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google person. Those are always available options, as well as YouTube, where our full shows are archived each and every day. Thanks to y'all for hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat. If you'd like to throw a like our way, we'd appreciate that very much. We'd also like it if you subscribe to the channel. It's right there under the video feed. I opened the show with some pretty powerful quotes from Jay Johnson on Garrett Edwards and Paul Skenes, talking about Edwards barely making the team, talking about what has made Paul Skenes great and taking the jump from Air Force to his role now at LSU. Previewed LSU and Grambling briefly at 1:15. Glenn West of Go247 always with us on Tuesdays. He was with us at 1:30. Jordan Wright from the Dunham School and Vanderbilt in the transfer portal. Does that make sense for LSU? My thoughts at the end of hour number 1. I gave my grading to LSU SEC basketball. All 14 teams got a grade at the top of hour number 2. Saints added Jari Evans to the coaching staff. Pelicans winning ball games. Sharif Ishak with us at 2:30. That's all on demand. Jimmy Ott's Game Time, 6 to 8 tonight. Musso is going to drive you home on After Further Review. Matt will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow too. Same time, same place. 1 to 3 weekdays. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it,